Welcome to Heroes First Podcast, sponsored by Fund the First, the nation's leading verified crowdfunding platform for first responders, military, and medical professionals. And now, your host, broadcasting from Long Island, New York, Robert Garland.
Hi, everyone, and thank you for joining this week's episode of Heroes First Podcast. Each week, you will hear from a new guest that portrays excellence in the first responder, military, or medical professional field. If you are an active or retired member of the service, or even a family member or a friend, then this show is for you. I would like to now present to you our guest for episode 9 of this podcast series, Nate Carroll. Nate, how are you, sir?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Very, very good. Absolute pleasure to have you on the show. What you're doing, and we'll get into it in a moment, is amazing with these push-ups. You're trying to break the world record for push-ups.
That's right. For the world record for the most push-ups in 365 days.
That's incredible. Absolutely incredible. So where are you right now with that?
So right now I'm at about 972,000, and I have about 3.5 months left to reach the 1.5 million.
Wow. So let's backtrack for a second. Well, because I want to have a whole discussion on the push-ups. But let's talk about you for a moment. So I know you told me about your background. How many kids you have?
So I have 3 kids. I have 2 sons, Charlie, Louie, and a daughter, Millie.
Excellent. You have one of your kids here on the show with you?
I got my son, Louie, here in standby in case he wants to add a little bit to the podcast.
All right. Excellent. Maybe I'll play something in the background. You play guitar or just you?
I just play guitar.
Okay.
He listens to it. So.
All right, good. So tell me about your career for a moment. I know you spent time in the military. Was that just as a reservist?
Yep. So after high school, I graduated in '94. I went into the Marine Corps Reserves a few weeks later and spent about 6.5-7 years in the reserves, and got out 2000 and was in school as well, and graduated in 2000 with a degree in social work. And I've been working in the prison system in Wisconsin here for just over 20 years as a social worker.
Oh, wow. Well, I mean, I haven't interacted with too many social workers. I did the majority of my career in narcotics in the NYPD. I have 13 years on the job now, but a lot of times, there would be social workers that will come over and interview our prisoners when we would be bringing them down to bookings and everything. So tell me how your interactions were with some of your prisoners. How did you interact with the people in the jails?
So my primary role in the prison system now is kind of case management, and I do a lot of groups revolving around trauma. So trying to help the guys gain better skills to hopefully get back in society and not to cope better, to manage themselves better, and not find themselves back in prison. So a lot of what I view as a job of trying to help these guys transition back to the community so that they're not a further burden on our first responders and the communities that they return to.
That's great. That's perfectly said. So there's so many people that do. Obviously, we see it day in and day out. You get arrested, you're in jail, you're back out on the streets, you get arrested again, back and forth. But if it weren't for people like you, hopefully giving these people some extra motivation, some extra guidance to really get them that education and that willpower to, do something great with their lives after they get out. Because how many stories have you heard about where people get out of jail and all of a sudden they're millionaires because they really put their minds to it and they got out there and did something right?
There's a lot of positive success stories, and it's a matter of taking ownership of your actions, kind of understanding why it is that you've made some of the choices that you've made, and giving them hope that they can live a better life if they make better choices. So it's very important to me. Obviously, I'm not a police officer, but I'm very appreciative of the work that law enforcement do. And I just view this as like the other end of it. I mean, they get arrested, they come to jail, and hopefully we can make an impact on them so that they're not bothering our police officers when they get back in the community. So it's really about that. And, hopefully that they can find some fulfillment in their life and live a different way and contribute to society versus, take from society.
Right. You have push-up competitions with them?
Well, it's funny because obviously, yeah, I mean, you've all seen videos of people in prison and they do all the body work exercises. So yeah, it's push-ups, it's pull-ups, it's dips. So it is kind of funny that that's my primary exercise is a push-up, which is, something every inmate does throughout the country, I'm sure.
So what made you want to become a social worker? Is it in your family, or is this something that you really wanted, that was near and dear to your heart?
So it just kind of presented itself as I enrolled in school. I wasn't quite sure what I wanted to do other than help people. I kind of had this general sense of, trying to be an advocate for people and listen to people that maybe have had some, a tough go at it or some struggles. And I felt to some degree that I could relate. My mother wasn't terribly involved in my life, and it made an impact on me growing up. And I think that I could have gone down a variety of choices or roads if I would have made different choices. So in some way, I felt I could relate to some people and maybe be a positive influence on them. So, they can take their situation and turn it around. So it kind of just evolved into what it is today. I mean, obviously my goals and my aspirations are a little bit different today than when I first started 20 years ago, but it's the same. I think the foundation of it is the same, is that I feel like I can relate to some extent to some of the things that some of the guys have gone through and be that positive role model for them.
That's great. So normally I ask this question at the end of the show, but since you already kind of touched on it, would you do it all again?
It's a great question. The pay's not very good. So, I mean, if I wanted to be rich, I would have done something differently. I think that I probably would have done something where I felt I was making an impact on people and contributing to their lives. I don't know if it would have been a prison per se, maybe with kids, but it's hard to say. I mean, a lot of my life today, had I made different choices in the past, I wouldn't have my three beautiful kids. I'm quite certain I wouldn't be sitting here having the privilege of having a conversation with you. So, I mean, life kind of works out the way it does, and I don't know if I'd change anything, maybe some stuff, but for the most part, I think just having the ability to connect with people and hopefully make an impression on them is something that's kind of at my core.
I think you're definitely leaving that impression on your children, and I could tell by your son's smile before we got on the show. He's happy to be around you, and that's great. It's always a pleasure.
Well, it's funny because I get up pretty early in the morning, and he always says, "Dad, can you wake me up at like 4:45?" And so I wake him up. Some days he gets up with me, and other days like today he didn't. But I think it's neat for him to see as an 11-year-old is what his dad's doing, and hopefully it helps him in whatever dreams and aspiration he pursues in his life, that he can look back at this time and find some strength through it.
Well, let's bring him on for a second. Before I start asking you everything about the push-ups, I want to ask him something. Let's see. Is he all right with that?
He's right here. Yeah. He's got a
All
fresh
right.
haircut yesterday, so he's also have to.
Awesome. What's up, buddy? So, what do you think of your dad trying to break the world record for push-ups?
Well, I mean, it's kind of crazy.
What are your friend said to you yesterday? Your dad must have an 8-pack. Is
Yeah.
that what he said?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you ever try to beat him out with push-ups or no?
No.
No way. Well, listen, I'm sure as you get older, you're going to say, you know what? It's going to come a time where I want to beat my dad and beat that 1.5 million and maybe get 2.5 million push-ups in a year.
It'd be nice. I mean, it's kind of neat. So, Louis has on his wall a couple of years ago when I finished the Ironman, he drew a picture of himself swimming, biking, and running, and said that he wanted to do an Ironman with his dad someday. So I think, yeah, I hope that some of what I do, rubs off on him, and whether they ever do anything athletic or not, as long as they, have that same passion with whatever it is that they choose to do, I think that would be very satisfying to me, that they have that to reference them when they, pursue what they shoot for.
It's definitely a father's goal, right? Definitely a father's goal. I always try to do that with my kids as well. As long as they have that motivation, that drive, the willpower, and as long as we're giving the proper influence, that's all that matters.
That's right.
Yeah.
So are you
That's all
going to
that
get
matters.
up tomorrow at 4:45 or not?
Maybe, I don't know.
I'll let you know if he does.
Yeah. I'm usually up, so I'm up Tuesday. Well, hold on, Sundays through Thursdays at 4 a.m. So I'll do push up. Well, I have an injury. I'll do one arm push ups with you.
There you go. That'll work out.
So let's hear about this. What gave you the motivation to try to break this world record?
So I've been counting push-ups since probably 2009, and I've always been active and did push-ups, but I never really kind of counted them. And so one year I thought, well, I'd do 100,000, and so I did 100,000, and then the years kind of progressed, and I've always kind of been drawn to the push-up for some reason, probably from my time in the military. I would imagine that's where it probably originated, but it's always been an exercise that's been convenient for me. You can do it anywhere. You don't need any equipment, and it's just you against the floor and gravity. So in 2018, I started thinking about doing 1,000,000 push-ups, because my goal for the past few years was to do 1,000,000 push-ups in my life. So I started thinking like, well, why can't I do 1,000,000 push-ups in a year? So in 2019, I set out to do 1,000,000 push-ups in a year, which breaks down to 2,740 a day. And I coupled that with our family's Thanking Law Enforcement Challenge, where our goal is to thank police officers in all 3,142 counties across America. So it was kind of to raise some awareness for, extending appreciation and gratitude to our police officers. So I started that in 2019, and it was going great. And thankfully, December 31st of 2019, I finished my 1,000,000th push-up at the Green Bay Police Department.
Wow.
So I started thinking like, wow, the world record was 1.5 million in change. And I thought, well, maybe I'll take a shot at it. I mean, there's probably not going to be a better time where I'm in shape and that I would have an attempt at it. So I started in 2020 to break that record. And then I ended up injuring my arm. I got sick, and I ultimately just decided that it wasn't in the cards, because you have to average 4,111 push-ups a day to break that record.
Let's pause for a second.
Yeah.
Go into that. How do you do 4,000? Because I've done bodybuilding shows. I was big into the workout scene before I got injured, and I would probably average 3, 4, 500 push-ups a day.
Sure.
How are you doing 4,000 push-ups a day? Let's hear the progression throughout the day, the morning, the afternoon, the night. What is your routine with that?
So my alarm goes off at 3:30 in the morning. I get up. If I don't hit snooze, I'm out of bed by 3:45 at the latest, and get up, make my coffee. I stretch for probably about 10 minutes, and then I hit the floor. And my routine is I do 3 sets of about 25 to 35 every 5 minutes. So I do about 90 to 105 push-ups every 5 minutes. And so I will do 20 reps of that. So that will give me ultimately around 1,900 to 2,100 push-ups at 6 o'clock. Then I get the kids up.
Wait, do you eat first or no? That's on an empty stomach.
I eat afterwards.
Okay.
Yeah. So I drink my coffee, I have my water, and I sit and I do reps typically from 4 to 6 every 5 minutes. And like I said, that gives me 20 sets and about 2,000 on average push-ups. And then I get the kids up, and I weave it into the rest of my morning routine till I drop the kids off. So in between making breakfast, I'll drop and, do 35 or 70 or whatever it is, and get the kids off to school. And then I work at prison, and I don't want to say thankfully due to COVID, but because of COVID, we have a lot more downtime. So I'm able to do push-ups pretty much all day, as long as I can get all my work done. So typically what I do at work is I'll do 3 sets, so about 100 to 120, just depending on where it is. And I have at least 10 minutes in between that. And so then that just continues on throughout the day. And I get home, and like tonight we are in Wisconsin here, in pretty cold weather, the ice cream stand opens. So we went and got ice cream. And so I'll just do them in between that. So, and then in the evening, depending on what I have left, about 1,000 typically is what it kind of comes down to. I just weave that into my evening routine. And I usually hit the bed 9:30. I'm out by 9:35, and then it just starts over again. So doing that amount of push-ups, you really can't set aside time necessarily to do that many push-ups. I've always described it as weaving push-ups into your life, into your day, and that's ultimately how it works. You have to weave that into your daily routine, and that's how it goes. So it consumes every decision I make, every choice that I make. I have to be aware of where my numbers are, what I have to do, and that's what it takes. I mean, I was just reading, there's this guy named George Hood, I think it is. He's a 62-year-old man. He set the world record for the longest plank. I don't know if you've heard about him, but
How long was that?
like 8 hours and like 8.5 hours, something crazy. Well, the guy is unreal. He's like 63 years old. He's I believe, he was a former detective. I don't know what department, but he was a Marine, and he set this record. So now he's going to set the world record, or attempt the world record for the most push-ups in an hour, which is about 3,000. So I always laugh too, because like when we think about doing 4,000 or 5,000 push-ups a day, it sounds ridiculous. It's unbelievable. But then you hear like a guy like this. I mean, if he can do 3,000 push-ups in an hour, what's my excuse? I mean, I can certainly do, 4,000 or 5,000 in 18 hours. So it's all about perspective for me. And then just, total commitment, total dedication. And what drives me is, this foundation and supporting our first responders and being an example for my children. So, I mean, it's possible. And I'm at today, it's, if I can keep my routine, stay healthy, I got a great shot at it.
Listen, so what are you at right now? I know you mentioned it earlier in the show, but let's get back to it again. You're at how many
I think
push-ups
I'm
so
at
far?
972,000, I think. So I have about 3.5 months. So this started on June 14th. It concludes on June 13th. And I think I have about 106 days left of this challenge, I think.
So you have to you still have to stay at the same pace.
I have to average 4,800 push-ups a day.
4,800.
I battled a few injuries at the beginning of this challenge with my rhomboid muscles, which I didn't even know existed, but they're the stabilizers between the shoulder blades. And when you do that amount of push-ups and your body's not necessarily adjusted to the stress, those things scream. And so I had some problems with my rhomboids, but I worked through it, and I feel strong today. I feel confident, and it's just executing every day's plan, and that's just how I approach it. I don't think too far ahead.
So because this is being tracked, obviously, to beat the world record, is there like a tracking system that they have to view every single push-up that you're doing? Do you have to record them all?
So I record as many as I can. I have my office mate, Ashley, verify them, my work people that they verify them as well. I mean, the amount of push-ups over a year span, it's impossible to verify every push-up. So, but I know what I've done, and I've done as much as I can to verify as many as I can, and I'll let them be the judge of it. So, yeah, I'm confident with what I've done, and I've done a few events, and I hope to do some more, hopefully towards the end of this, and just to demonstrate that this amount of workload is possible. And but and it gives me obviously the opportunity to talk about what it's really about, and it's nothing to do with me. It's our first responders, supporting them.
Right. No, and that's what's excellent. You're doing this for the right cause, and also it's really mind over matter, right? And if you think about it, what was the record for the mile run? There was or the marathons. There was
well, the mile run was when they broke the 4-minute mile. That was the big
4-minute
thing.
mile, and then now they broke the 3-minute mile, right? And then
I think so, but I mean, once that record was broken, then it was that 4-minute mark was passed, quite a bit. I mean, now it's
right.
Not that it's nothing, but I mean, it's not something that is so prestigious anymore. Right. But yeah, you're right. It is mind.
Yeah, it's mind over matter.
It is. I mean, the push-ups, I mean, is the physical part, the body can withstand anything. I mean, if you are willing to train and prepare and take care of the body, it will respond. And you probably know that as a bodybuilder and your athletic ability, the body responds. It's the mind. So, I mean, the amount of push-ups, it's the mental side that is the most challenging often for me, is just finding the endurance to continue to push through this and do it when I'm tired, because I don't want to get up at 3:30 every morning. I mean, it's, that's not fun necessarily. And so you have to really be committed to it and be mentally prepared.
No, well, you got your coffee, so that's good. What kind
Yeah,
of
that
coffee you
does
drinking?
help. So I drink Torquay coffee. It's made here in Wisconsin in Sheboygan. So it's a local coffee place that I still want to tour there one day. I haven't been over there, but they sell it here. It's good coffee. So
That's awesome. I actually, I had to stop drinking coffee. It gives me too many jitters. It's, oh my God, it's insane for me. But I saw this, I see an ad all the time for this stuff called mud water. I always want
yeah,
to try it. It like basically there's no caffeine to it, but it's the same rush. So maybe I'll get back into it. I don't know. I don't know. But listen, what you're doing for the first responder scene is incredible. And I'm sure a lot of people are getting a lot of traction. I know you're doing this through Tunnel to Towers, which is an outstanding nonprofit organization.
mhm,
And if anyone wants to donate to your cause, you can go through the Push Through Challenge, the 1.5 million push up challenge through Tunnel to Towers. You're looking to raise $1.5 million. So basically a dollar per push up. And you've raised now $35,000, I believe, right?
so far, yeah.
That's
I'm
incredible.
hurting in the donations, but that's okay. I mean, it's
It's
when I
awareness.
well, it is, and when I'm a big believer in setting big goals, and it's that's a big number, obviously, and you can't really anticipate how the economy responds, and situations that unfold in the media that persuade people or don't persuade people to support foundations. But again, I'd rather aim high and miss than aim low and hit. So that's kind of
Well,
where I'm at.
listen, you didn't miss. So what you're doing right now, you're building so much awareness and you're showing your support for the first responder scene. And you got to think that $35,000 that you raised right now is money now that you're going to donate back to not to the Tunnel to Towers, which they're going to give now to what are they going to give it to? A fallen first responder home program, right? And
Correct.
that money is a dollar more than they didn't have in their pocket, which is
Absolutely.
incredible. It's absolutely incredible. And I know this firsthand. I mean, I run an online crowdfunding platform for first responders, military, and medical professionals that fund the first. And I know that's how you found out about us. And, a lot of these people, when they come on our platform, it's very hard to ask for help, right? No one ever wants to really extend themselves out, especially as a first responder, police, firefighters, whatever it may be. It's very
Mhm.
hard to ask for help and support. But when you start getting that support, it's that extra dollar that you didn't have in your pocket. Then now that helps towards what you need it for, and for what you're doing is absolutely incredible. But it also brings the support system and the morale and the camaraderie, brings everyone together, and that's what we
Absolutely.
need, right? And that's the most important part. And what you're doing right here is it's incredible. I love it. I love it. I wish I could participate. If I wasn't injured, I tore my labrum. If I wasn't injured, I would 100% be participating
That's a
in
tough injury. It's a tough injury.
Yeah, I got two anchors in my shoulder. It's not fun. I could get it up here, but it hurts. It's not
It
fun.
does.
It was at work in narcotics. I got hurt during an arrest situation. But long road to recovery. And we know how those injuries go, though. We'll
Sure.
see how it plays out. So this is excellent. Anything else you want to add in about your push-up journey? I mean, has there any been any real challenges besides the timing and cutting into family and the injuries that you have? I mean, the only thing else I can think of is how do you fit in food?
How do you what?
How do you fit in food to your schedule? How do you eat?
I eat all the time, so it's it's constant eating. Yeah, I mean, the way, again, like what I do mentally is, I think about, like, any challenge that I have, any struggle that I'm experiencing. It's nothing in comparison to what these families who lose their mom or their dad in service to our country. I mean, it's we talked a little bit about the push-ups in an hour or whatever. I mean, so I mean, yeah, it's an inconvenience at times, but it's just nothing in comparison. So when I find myself thinking, like, this sucks, or I don't have the energy or the mental, kind of edge that I need, I honestly, I keep the thought of those moms and dads in my mind, in the families, because this foundation, like the Fallen First Responder Home Program. So if a police officer, firefighter, EMS is killed in the line of duty and they leave behind a family with young children, that foundation steps in and pays off that mortgage so that the family doesn't have the financial burden of trying to figure out how they're going to pay their bills now that they have one less earner in the house. And it also preserves the memories that those kids had in that family with their mom or dad. And so it's, it gets me emotional thinking about it. Obviously being a father myself and imagining like, my gosh, like, the people that I'm attempting to help, have kids that are my kids' age, that are just, sweet and innocent. And so it's really something that kind of resonates with me throughout, the morning, the noon, and the night when I'm thinking, because like I said, every decision I make is revolved around this push-up challenge, and coupled with that is the families of these fallen first responders. And I've not met any of the recipients of the homes. I hope to someday do. And I just want to, just express my condolences. And like you said, $35,000. Anything I can do to lessen the burden that these families have. It's a small sacrifice on my part to sit in my pajamas and do a few push-ups in my living room. So
it's a very noble and honorable cause. Very, very noble. And you should be extremely proud of yourself for this. Extremely proud of yourself.
Thank you.
This is great. This is great. So, because we're on the Heroes First podcast, I usually like to ask one question, but I'm going to ask two questions. I asked it on the last show, and it was actually kind of comical. So I kind of want to hear, what your answer to this question is going to be. So the first question I have is, if you were to have a superhero power, what would it be? And on the last show, this guy Eddie Molina, he brought up how he'd be the Hulk, and it was really funny. But I'd love to hear, because you do all these push-ups, what would your superhero power be?
First thing I thought of would be Superman, the Man of Steel, because I think he would certainly pass this record by and not get injured and be able to deliver that money to those families. So I think that would be the superhero. I'd be Superman, so I could definitely be the Man of Steel.
That's awesome. So, also because this is the Heroes First podcast, what does a hero mean to you?
So a hero to me is somebody who serves a cause greater than themselves, is willing to put themselves in danger in protection of total strangers, and is willing to answer the call and run towards danger when the majority of people run the opposite direction. I'm so grateful for the work that the police officers do, that the work that you do, the work that our firefighters and EMS do. They're perfect strangers to me. And a lot of them, I know a lot of them in my community, but there's so many that impact my life in ways I'll never know. And, as a father, my job is to protect my kids and to be there to, protect them when they find themselves maybe in a situation that's dangerous. But when I can't be there, it's going to be a police officer. We just had a situation recently here in Wisconsin where there was a shooting at a mall, and you can imagine the pandemonium of people running, trying to escape the mall, get out, and all these police officers are running into the commons area to assess what's going on. And and I just think to myself, like, if I can say thank you to police officers and improve their morale, it makes them just a little bit sharper, just maybe a little bit more willing to run into that building and do what they do. And because that might be my kid that they're saving. It might be you that they're saving. And I think that we all have the power to make an impact on people, and it costs really nothing to say thank you. And the ripple effect of that gratitude and appreciation and the recognition of the work that they do, I think makes a difference in people's lives that you don't even know exist. And one day it could be my life that it impacts. So
Nate, that was incredible. Thank you so much. As an officer myself, thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you for what you're doing. Thank you for what you've done in your career in the military, currently as a social worker, and with these push-ups. I think it's going a very, very long way. And we're out of time now with our show. It was a Pleasure to have you on the show. Thank you everyone for listening to episode 9 of Heroes First Podcast with Nate Carroll. Nate, thank you so much.
Thank you so much for the opportunity.
You've been listening to the Heroes First Podcast with Robert Garland. We hope you've gotten some useful and practical information from the show. Make sure to like, rate, share, and review. We'll be back soon, but in the meantime, make sure to visit fundthefirst.com and follow us on social media at fundthefirst. See you next time.